Welcome to the After the Show movie podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ace Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Welcome to you all, and also welcome, Sid Talk.
Thanks.
You're last. Everybody else, then you.
I'm the high priorities at it. I got it. But that's not the before the after the show discussion. It was basically this movie and diamond mine in the United States that we didn't know existed. I made some cheese and crackers in the oven. It was very stimulating.
It was. We learned.
Between the movie and this moment, all that happened.
Yeah. We learned about diamond mines. We learned about... What else did we learn about?
I told everyone what we did.
No, there was something else. And you didn't remember it.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. This is After the Show, your weekly movie review podcast. It's Saturday, February the 8th. Is that correct? It's the 8th already?
It is.
All right.
It is.
We're nearly in the middle of summer. Close. Right?
Pretty darn close.
This is After the Show 877. We're looking at the movie Wolfman. It's a 2025 movie. Is this the first 2025 movie we've reviewed?
Of course not. Oh, you mean made in 2020?
Yeah, made in 2025.
How the hell did they get it made?
Well, let me tell you this.
Released.
When a movie is 2024 or a movie is released 2025, apparently, I read about this the other day, it's when it's finally edited, the day it goes in the can. That's the day, that's the year that the movie exists.
Oh, okay.
Not when it was filmed. So,
I mean, I kind of knew that, but yeah, that's a fair explanation.
This was only put in the can in 2025. So it's our first 2025 movie. It's out on streaming. Well, not so much streaming. Premium video on demand is where it's available.
Everybody's favorite.
You can't just go to Netflix and watch it. You have
Can
to
I
go
just say
to
I'm really sick of the word premium at this point of our...
They call it PVOD because they can't be asked saying the whole thing.
Right.
All right, so it's 1 hour and 43 minutes from Universal and Blumhouse. Sid Talk, give us the synopsis of the movie Wolfman.
A man turns into a wolf man.
Man.
The end.
It's a tale as old as time.
A family goes through the woods. Mistake number one. A couple has a problem with their relationship. Mistake number one, refer back to that. Don't go to the woods or a remote location to fix your relationship. And number three, difficult relationship with a father and the son is coping as an adult. Also, don't go to the woods when you're trying to cope with that.
Exactly.
So all those above.
I'll give you the one off the box.
That's not on the box?
There is no box. This is digital.
True.
But I'll give you the one off IMDb at least. It says a family at a remote farmhouse is attacked by an unseen animal. But as the night stretches on, the father begins to transform into something unrecognizable. That'd be a wolfman. Spoilers.
Yes, there will be spoilers in this. That's the way it is.
I mean, there's spoilers in that.
The title pretty much tells you.
And the title, yeah. All right, so it's Wolfman. You all know the story of a wolfman. They're all different stories, but
absolutely,
it's a werewolf man. Is it a werewolf or just a wolf man?
Well, this one, as we get into it, spoiler, this isn't a werewolf who turns at the light of the moon, so I don't know if that
that isn't
has anything to do with being a werewolf. I don't know.
Why was it all at night then?
Well, we never saw a full moon.
No.
And every time we saw a wolf person, man, it was vague about, first time we saw when it was daytime because they were just in the forest hunting. So that wasn't nighttime. So yeah, that is thrown out the window.
So it's a modern
mythology.
take.
Yeah. The mythology of wolf people, gone. Not a thing.
All right. So let me say how I liked Wolfman.
Okay. I'm ready.
This guy who directed this also directed The Invisible Man, the remake of The Invisible Man, which we saw with Mad Men lady in it. And how I felt about that one is exactly how I feel about this one.
Which is,
I feel like
remind
it's
us.
really middle of the road
Okay.
horror.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything new, hardly at all.
Okay.
And there are not many surprises. This one's telegraphed to you so precisely, you know exactly what's going on at exactly every single second. You even know what's going to happen, I found.
I agree.
And that kind of takes away some of the luster of it for me, but I thought the performances were good. You know, so it does have something.
Yeah, the people make it, for sure.
I was a little bit disappointed with the transformation into a wolf. I didn't think it was as good as I was expecting it to be.
Well, let's explain. So in this version, big spoiler. So let's start with the story. We start with the boy and his father out in the woods. The father is clearly a survivalist. The mother is not there. We don't know why. But the dad is angry and a little bit like, you know. So training the son to survive in the wild, to defend himself, all that kind of stuff. The kid's like 9 or 10 years old. Then we're introduced to the idea of the wolf man, because the opening actually tells you that in 1995, a hiker disappeared in the woods and people call him Face of the Wolf or whatever it was, right? So we got that in opening credits with a big thing of a card of words, like telegraphed.
I actually forgot about that.
It told us right off the bat.
Yeah.
A hiker disappeared. They called him Wolf Face or whatever. Then we meet up with the dad and the son in 1995 out in the woods. The dad is pretty harsh. The son is afraid. Then we move forward 30 years to the son grown up with a daughter and a wife. And to all accounts, he's like a gentle, nice, caring father. He does get frustrated when his daughter is about to fall into traffic and yells at her, which I feel like that's a normal parental thing to do.
This is all the telegraphing I'm talking about.
Yeah, so we are to insinuate that he has in him, because his father was harsh with him, even though he's carrying a big pink teddy bear and he's giving the daughter ice cream and she's got her little wings on and he's that dad, and carrying the shopping bags, that somewhere in him, he has the generational trauma. So that's, you're right. It's just right in your face immediately.
Yeah.
But all other accounts of him, he's gentle, he's nice, he's considerate, he's intelligent, he's supportive, all the stuff, right? We have no other indication of anything else with this. So then he finds out that his father has been declared dead. Apparently the father's been missing for years.
Yeah.
He was estranged from his father, so he hasn't been back to that cabin. He convinces the wife, who they're having a little bit of trouble, apparently.
Trope. Go back to the cabin.
Go back to the cabin to get the stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately we run into Wolfman in the woods, a survivalist who's very creepy, and they're all in survival mode immediately when they get there. There's not even like easing into it. So now we're immediately aware that there is a wolf type man on the loose.
Yep.
He scratches the dad's arm. Did you want to put the word trope in there?
Oh, also a vehicle crash.
Correct. Oh, big vehicle crash. Very Jurassic Park.
I actually
If you
really
remember.
enjoyed. I thought the vehicle crash was filmed very well.
It was all right. It was a little janky, but then landing in a tree is pretty funny. I thought, but I was like, whoa, shit. And then from that moment on, we're kind of addressing the fact that dad is succumbing to the generational trauma, AKA the Wolfman disease, that he has now got a fever and he's changing. And so for you, because his transformation is really slow, right? It's not from your favorite movie of this type, which was
American Werewolf in London.
Correct. We don't throw him on the floor and show close up of a 15-minute transformation where all of a sudden he's the Wolfman and goes back and forth. This is a slow, from scene to scene, we see until the very end when he grows his claws and stuff. But I know what you mean. However, I actually really like that.
Oh, you did? I just felt slightly disappointed because I was thinking, I'd really like to see what we can do nowadays with a cool transformation. And then it didn't really
I think it
pay
was
off.
because the whole movie is very metaphorical. Let's just start with that. We are preaching the power of generational trauma here and of how we're all affected, and the slow transformation where it is not apparent at first, but then the sad part is that this person with this virus is doomed basically to succumb. And that's kind of, I think, the metaphor for that.
And the whole movie's played out in this very like morbid kind of way. There's no fun in this movie.
No, there really
Nobody there's a couple of little jokes near the beginning, but it's mostly like angst, terror, and I was going to say screaming, but there isn't any screaming really.
No. No, that trope is not in here.
You know what it reminded me of stylistically and the way the plot was done? It reminded me of A Quiet Place.
Kind of, yeah.
It had that feel to it. Now, The Quiet Place, I was more on board with the characters because they were more is that a word?
Caricatures?
No, they weren't caricatures. They were more fleshed out. I feel like this family are very, we don't really know them that well.
Agree. We know superficially that she's a journalist.
Yeah.
He's a writer. She's very devoted to her job. She doesn't feel connected to their daughter so much, and she's like 10 years old.
And there wasn't enough for me to really 100% care about these three.
Oh, I did. I really liked them. So we're really on different pages here.
Whereas in A Quiet Place, I really cared about them. Somehow in the beginning of A Quiet Place, they got me bonded with them.
Almost immediately, A Quiet Place, they're dealing with a very horrible disaster.
Yeah.
Tragedy, and you're just like, oh my God, these poor people.
Well, this movie did remind me of that, and it was to do with this movie even has a lot of quiet moments.
Mm-hmm.
They're in this house. The shit hits the fan really quickly, and then there's a big period of like nothing for a while.
True.
So that also felt a bit slightly disjointed to me.
I didn't mind.
I was like, we're into the action now. There's no going back from what just happened with this crash. And now we're running to the house, and there's something coming after us. But then it does kind of just wind back for a bit, maybe about 20 minutes until it starts happening again.
Mm.
So, yeah, maybe it feels a bit disjointed. And there is some really dumb shit in this movie, I've got to say that. When you're like escaping from a wolf, you don't know what it is, I guess, but maybe you think it's a wolf or something's coming after you. Maybe it's a wild animal. Do you climb on top of a polytunnel?
I knew that one very specifically.
I hated it. What was it? Why would you do that?
Well, there was a ladder. Okay, so
it doesn't mean if there's a ladder, you should go up it.
Because they've gone to Dad's house out in the woods. He's a survivalist, so he has a polytunnel, which is, if you don't know, it's a place where you have a garden all year long. There's a ladder leaning against the polytunnel. A polytunnel is covered with big sheets of plastic over like a ribbed frame.
It is not a secure structure.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
It's not weight bearing. And
being on top of it would be the worst place to be.
Yeah. That was pretty jank. I'll give you that.
And that reminded me of a jank, low-rent Temu version of A Quiet Place with the grain silo.
Or maybe, and I'm just putting this out there, a Blumhouse version. Dun, dun, dun. She said it. She said it.
Do you remember like
Blumhouse isn't known for like all that.
No, I mean, Blumhouse is very, we watched him on Shark Tank, the Blumhouse guy. He was on Shark Tank, and he said on there, how I make my movies is I make them very cheap, but of a subject matter that people are going to love.
Yeah.
And it's maximum profit. That's what we're going
for. Correct. And he's right.
And that's how he does it, yeah.
Yeah.
The polytunnel thing, I know it was supposed to be this, they're on top of the tunnel, the wolf is underneath them, it's all tense, and I wasn't tense because I was like, this is just stupid. You're on the top of a tunnel.
This is just stupid.
If you were going to go anywhere, just get in the house or in the barn or something that is not plastic.
See, my issue is these people ran from the house to the barn, to the truck, to the polytunnel, to the barn, to the house, to the truck, to the polytunnel, to the... It was like they were in this little loop of how do we make it exciting and keep things moving, but we only have these three locations. And then there's the deer blind, of course, out in the woods. So those are the only places. And it just is a repeat. Here.
Yeah.
That one, I was a little like, okay, so we're running to a new place. And I said, even at one point when they went back in the house, I'm like, oh, they went in the barn for the second time. I'm like, you're not safe anywhere.
No.
Spoiler for you people in the movie.
And there's no attack. Well, we told at the beginning, like very vaguely, that the road up to the house is not available. Like it's
Yes.
blocked in some way. So when we crash basically into the field, we've made our own route, but there's no way out. I mean, they had to like convolutedly make that there's no way to actually leave.
True.
But then at the end, spoilers, they just leave across a field. So they could have gone across that field 3 days ago.
Well, it's all one day, I think.
Was it only one day?
Yeah.
Wow. It must have been at least 2 days. Right?
I wasn't feeling your actual dislike of this movie, so it's fascinating.
I like the actors, is what I like.
Oh, yeah, it was there. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But
and I didn't dislike this movie, by the way.
As far as the movie went, I just found it's like by the numbers. There wasn't anything where I was like, oh, that is a cool twist on something. Or I know they were trying. Like, let's not just do a generic werewolf. But, like...
But when you can feel it, like you feel it.
I felt like that we've only got 3 places to do action sequences, so we have to, like you say, go around them. Oh, there's a car over there. We'll try and start the car. There's a barn we can have a little fight in. There's the polytunnel we can do the thing in. And there's the house we can do most of the stuff in.
Or if we're honest, there's the house and then there's the barn. What else can we do? Well, we've got the polytunnel.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No, the polytunnel just so happened to be like perfectly lit inside it. So when they're on top of it, it's all like lit up like a polytunnel with lights in it. It didn't do a lot for me. And at the end, I felt like I knew from the very beginning exactly what was happening.
Yeah, definitely.
There definitely was no, oh, that was cool.
No, correct.
No, it was more like, and he even uses that structure of, at the beginning, 30 years earlier, they're in this like, what do you call that, hide thing up the tree.
A deer blind.
They're in a deer blind up a tree. And then we finish the movie in the deer blind up the tree. So it kind of comes full circle.
True.
So they do that too, which is a trope that you've seen a billion times, right? Hereditary does that trope, but I wouldn't mark that down for it because I thought it was pretty cool because I didn't expect it. You get what I'm saying?
Remember that?
It starts with a treehouse and ends with one.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Right. Well, you could say that's a trope because they start on the same thing as they end on.
That's a trope.
But when you get to the treehouse at the very end of Hereditary, there's a big reveal where you're going, oh my God, what the fuck? Whereas in this, you're not. You're going, okay, we're generational. It's happened again. And that's it. Right?
True.
And they could be a sequel. Is that what you think?
It feels like, but I don't know.
Who's the Wolfie?
I don't know. Well, we also found out about this movie, and here's how I felt during the movie. And then later you told me to reinforce what I already felt. There was a very strong sadness about this character, the wolf guy,
right.
As we get more and more, because I kept thinking from the beginning of the movie, right? He's doing everything to not be his father. He's doing everything. Yes. He's being kind. He's intelligent. He's doing all the things not to be his father. We have no indication whatsoever in the first half of the movie. Not even once he's got scratched and all that. Not even that he's carrying on this generational trauma. Like he's doing it. He's explaining to his little daughter like why he wants to protect her and that he knows he makes mistakes. Like he's done everything he needs to do to not be his father. Then all of a sudden, I start getting this overwhelming sense of doom that even if, and we're going to focus on men because that's what we're doing here, is the father passed along his anger to his son, right? So even if a man, grows up and wants to break that cycle, that this movie turned into the idea that you can't. You are doomed to continue this cycle of sadness and anger and not communicating, all the stuff that goes with it. And I kept thinking, but aren't we going to say there's hope here, right? Because he was doing everything right. And so to doom him is really sad. And then later you said, because at the end there is a, what's it called?
Oh, like a immemorial.
Yeah,
thing.
to a person. We looked it up. And sadly, the director's brother-in-law,
No, brother.
committed suicide shortly before this movie started. And so making of the movie was cathartic and dealing with all the emotions of the sadness. We don't know the story of that suicide, but what you read implies that his suicide and whatever was going on was part of this idea of generational trauma.
Right.
And so that's where then you told me that, I'm like, I felt it. I felt that they feel when they were writing the rest of this movie. You can't escape it, which is very sad. And I don't actually believe with that philosophy, but I felt that. So it kind of weighed heavy. And then you told me that, and I'm like, oh, the movie makes more sense. And I don't like it anymore, but I get it.
Yeah. And I did feel there was definitely, when I said earlier, not being disrespectful, that the movie seems kind of morbid in a way and very down and depressing.
Yep.
And
definitely.
I felt that, and obviously the director was going through a lot while making this film. So, do you think that is because of that, or
Yes,
do you think
100%?
Yeah.
They even what you read to me was like, oh, yep.
All right? Let's get on to the cast. There's not a lot of people in this movie, to be fair.
No, there really isn't.
Christopher Abbott plays Blake. Now, 100%, I thought Christopher Abbott was a British man. Did you?
No.
I've always thought he was a British man. He is not. He's an American man.
Why do you think he was British?
I don't know. Maybe I've seen him in something British doing a British
right.
accent. And maybe I bought that fully. And I was like, oh yeah, he's a British man. But he's not a British man. He's an American man. He was in Poor Things, remember? He was like her suitor.
Oh, no, I did not remember that. Okay.
He's been in a bunch of things. But what did you think of Christopher Abbott? He is the Wolfman, by the way.
Excellent. I mean, seriously, there is a lot you can do. And he did the best he could with the makeup as we progress with prosthetics and everything. But before that, and the slow little bit where he goes from being like himself to changing, there were subtle things that I thought he was really good. Everyone was good, though. So I have that. Except for the guy that they picked up. He was a little bit theatrical, I thought.
Well, Julia Garner plays Charlotte. I'm a big fan of Julia Garner. We met her for the first time. We've never met her in person.
No.
Just on the screen. In Ozark as Ruth. So she'll always be Ruth from Ozark to me. But we also saw her in that great Australian film.
Oh, yeah.
Called The Grand Hotel?
Grand Hotel, yeah. Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, that's a good one if you've not seen that. Now here, she does what she does kind of thing. She's one of those actresses, right?
I don't know. There's some very good moments here where
I'm saying what she does is good.
Yeah, but she's not the same as Ruth, so I don't agree with that.
No, I don't think she's the same as Ruth, but she definitely has a certain way of portraying.
She's got grit.
Yeah.
That's why I would say that, for sure.
She was good here. I mean, I like watching her, and I just don't think maybe there's not enough for her here. I don't know.
Oh, no, I thought it was really good because a lot of it's unspoken, so...
There is a lot of... Oh, I didn't mention it in this film. There's a couple of sequences where you see, like, wolf vision.
Yeah, I love that.
Of how the wolves see and hear us.
I absolutely love that. I thought that was an excellent...
That was the best.
Yeah.
That was the very inventive part of the movie.
Something I've never considered, like... So he's... Like, how would you describe what he's seeing?
He sees it's almost like night vision, but it's not. But he sees the eyes really shiny, like glary. And what I found really interesting was the audio of what he can hear. He can only kind of hear the low rumble of stuff.
Yeah, and words don't make sense anymore.
So it's like they're speaking, but it just sounds like a bass rumbling. It was really cool.
They his vision turns them into what looks like prey. Like they look like little...
Like they stick out.
Their facial features are distorted in a way that make it look like something he would want to eat.
Right.
I love that. I thought that was really good.
When I was saying there was nothing inventive about it, that was the inventive thing. And I was like, that is a really cool... And the audio in this movie is really good too. Like it's got a lot of behind you...
True.
Things like smashing through stuff. And when there's a werewolf fight, let's say, it's very aggressive. So we've also got Matilda Firth, who plays Ginger, the little girl. What do you think?
She was very good. I mean, she didn't have a lot to say, but she was sort of like, the heart of him, basically. It wasn't about him protecting the woman so much as his daughter.
Yeah.
And she was very good. She was sad and good, and she had all the different things. So she got to be kind of happy and kid-like, and then she got the trauma of seeing terrible things. Then she was sad and scared. She did a good job.
Directed by Lee Wannell. He also directed The Invisible Man and Insidious Chapter 3, which I don't think we saw. So what do you think of the directing?
I think it was...
It says it cost $25 million to make this movie, which is quite a lot for this kind of movie.
Is it? I thought that sounds kind of low
No,
for a whole movie.
When you're doing low on the horror movie scale, it's like 4 to 8 million. Terrifier 3, for instance, that was like 4 million. This one was 25 million. So, you know, you get a lot of polytunnel for 25 million. That was an expensive polytunnel.
You're hung up on the polytunnel.
I am. I'll never forget the polytunnel. I was rolling my eyes really big time. I was like, this is just...
I wasn't a fan of it, so don't... No. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what are they doing?
What is this? Why? If there's a ladder to escape, you don't have to go up it. Just ignore it and go somewhere else. So directing, it was well shot, because this movie's really dark and gloomy, yet it's not like...
It is,
I can't tell what's happening. But it is. There's not much light in this movie, except for the beginning part in the city. It's dark all the time.
True. I guess it's supposed to be kind of maybe part of the whole werewolf.
So it's not like a movie where you would take a screenshot and you'd be like, oh, that looks incredible. You'd be like, no, that looks like a dark room or a very dark polytunnel or a light polytunnel in this case. All right, let's get off the polytunnel. IMDb reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews you find on the IMDb that you think are funny because they're 1 star. But sometimes they say what we're all thinking.
What are we all thinking?
You're going to read it. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. So these are the 1 star reviews. I don't know what that is, but I'm doing it.
Nice accent.
All right. Number 1 says, what a waste of time.
Of course.
I was actually hoping it would pull an M. Night Shyamalan twist, because even a corny twist is better than what you get in this movie. I have no idea why the film exists. It's not heavy on action or horror, and it might as well be a family drama.
What's wrong with that? Isn't that what it is? That is what it is.
That is what it is. But it's not advertised that way, is it? I don't think.
No, but I mean, the whole idea of the Wolfman has always been, or any of those, things, it's all about humanity and, the evils of whatever.
The second guy says, they managed to make werewolves boring. I love monster and horror flicks and was rather curious about Wolfman. Halfway through, I deeply regretted it. The movie is just plain boring, and it sure doesn't help that none of the actors make you care about what happens to them. Julia Garner is straight up terrible. I watched the remaining half of the movie while browsing Reddit, and Reddit was much higher quality.
Oh my God. Can I review a review? Whatever.
Yes.
Whatevs. As the kids say, whatevs.
And finally, this guy says, worst Wolfman ever. Worst story and dialogues. It's more of a drama than a horror. Direction is good, but other than that, nothing is very good. The Wolfman of the 6 is better. No background story, many things that need to be explained. And the Wolfman shown is similar to Gollum from Lord of the Rings. The makers should have kept the regular one from years ago. The weakness of the werewolf is really makes it mythical, and it's more like sci-fi than mythical. I don't even know. That was
They're
a real
very sad
wall.
about it not being mythical. I get it.
That was a real wall of text that didn't say anything.
Well, it's not mythical. I got that.
Yeah. So that is the Wolfman. It's not the Wolfman. It's just Wolfman.
Correct.
Extras we did not see. We just watched the streaming version, so we didn't see the Blu-ray is not out yet. Conclusion, I'm going to give Wolfman a 5 out of 10.
I'm going for 6.4. So it's not great out high on the scale, because I also kind of think about in relation to all the other stories of Wolfman that I've watched over the years. And I don't normally compare, but I had to think about the experience of it. While I like it as its own little thing, I kind of agree with the Wolfman not being the star idea of the whole thing. Which I actually like that being
Right.
like Werewolf of London, you're pretty much, and if you're doing any horror movies with monster tropes like zombies or Frankenstein, I kind of want that to be the star of the show.
Right. So do better, everybody. Talking of better, next week's movie is not The Wolfman, it's Better Man. Have you heard of this?
Better Man. I think so.
What do you think that is?
I don't know, but I think I've heard of it.
Let me tell you, let me give you a pitch for this and you'll be like, what the fuck? It's a biopic
Okay.
of the pop star, you ready?
Okay, ready.
Robbie Williams.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
Does anybody who's listening to this podcast know who Robbie Williams is?
Why wouldn't they?
I think only if you're British will you know who he is, right?
I don't think that's accurate, but
I do think that's accurate.
I don't think so. There are
I would
many
like any Americans out there to tell me who he is.
You're saying no American or anyone in any other continent or country other than the UK knows who Robbie Williams
I think
is.
you have to be English or Australian, possibly.
I think you're wrong. I think you're very wrong. Do you think people have never heard the song I'll Be Loving Angels Instead?
The song Angels.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. That is a popular
Yeah.
song. Yes.
That's the song, man. That's at like weddings and funerals and all kinds of shit. So I think you're wrong. And
All right.
usually I'm right.
Well, Better Man, the biopic of Robbie Williams that you don't know fully about yet and you're going to experience next week, is going to be something, I'm telling you. So we'll look at that next week. Movie recommendations. I am going with this guy, Christopher Abbott, who I thought was a British man in this Wolfman movie.
Okay.
He was in a movie called Possessor, which was fucking amazing.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was a Brandon Cronenberg, wasn't it?
That was crazy.
Yeah, that one. So I'm going to give you that one. And I'm going to give you Ozark for Julia Garner.
Of course.
That's a Netflix show. There's 4 seasons. It's over now. It was very good.
It was.
Yeah. And yours are?
Mine are going back to all the horror movies that have ever been made that I've ever seen. So if you want to be like me, you're going to watch all these movies. And it's not a testament to their quality, just that I've seen them. But strangely enough, the next one on the list is from 1935, and it's called Werewolf of London.
Yes.
Yes. Now, back in that one, a scientist gets scratched by a plant that gives him
Oh.
this letharkempi or whatever it's called. Yeah, it's some sort of moon transformation plant. Comes back to London, and then there's murders, and people have to.
Is that the original? Is that what the whole werewolf story was?
No, that's not the first werewolf.
Right.
Wolfman, I think, was just its own before that, and then this one was more like giving it the story, I think.
Right.
Then we have the Devil Doll from 1936.
I have actually seen that one.
And Dr. Cyclops from 1940. Both of these are highlighting the new technology of the time of showing people tiny in a big, so they were learning how to use not green screen, obviously, but projection and all that to make people look small, like the blade of grass, and the cat is gigantic. So there's 2 of those. And then we've got The Cat and the Canary from 1939 and The Invisible Man Returns in 1940. Just so you know, if you think sequels are a thing of now, you're wrong. They've always been.
And The Invisible Man brings it full circle to Wolfman because this guy made Invisible Man before Wolfman.
Oh, right, okay. I was thinking the Werewolf of London kind of pulled it around, but sure.
Yeah. All right. Is that all your...
That's all my recommendation.
All right. Hey, Scully stuff. I've been playing a new game this week. It's called Achilles Survivor. Have you heard of this? It's very, very cool. And I've been playing it all week. I'm kind of hooked on it. It's so good. So it's called Achilles Survivor. I'll give you the blurb off the tin so you can understand what it is. It's a dynamic single-player bullet hell game where you face thousands of enemies, build structures, and develop your character to return as an even more powerful machine of destruction and survive waves of enemies. So it's one of those survivor games. It's a genre of game in itself.
Okay.
You don't press any buttons. All you do to play a survivor game is move the joystick.
Okay.
Like Pac-Man, you've only got a joystick. There's nothing else, right? So you're a man. You get dropped into the middle of the level. This whole thing's based on like Greek mythology and Roman Empire, all that kind of stuff. So you're dropped in the middle of the level, and then it'll say, survive for 20 minutes. That's why it's called Survivor, Achilles Survivor. So survive for 20 minutes means enemies are going to start coming at you slowly at first, but then it's going to ramp up over the 20 minutes. And by the 19th minute, there's so many enemies on the screen, you can't see anything but enemies, right?
And you love this?
Yeah, I really
Sounds
like
like my worst nightmare of a game.
So it starts off slow and you build up and level your character up. So every time you're probably thinking, well, how do you kill somebody if you're only using the joystick? Well, any weapons or anything that you've got just automatically fires every second, right? So you don't have to worry about that. It just comes out of you. You just walk around, make sure you don't get hit by anything, and keep shooting stuff. And as you shoot stuff, the enemies drop down and they drop stuff and you pick it up and you get more powerful as you go along. So within this time limit, by the end of it, you're going to be very powerful. But you have to be powerful enough to take down the final boss. You're killing all these small enemies at first, and then it gets to a point where bigger enemies start to come and hopefully you've leveled up enough. The whole aim is just to survive the 20 minutes, and you can go into the arena at first as just one guy. He's like a Roman guy, like the gladiator. But then you unlock different classes as you go along, and there's like a lady who does magic and, different types of people. So it's just really fun. It's one of those, like you can pick up Pac-Man and play Pac-Man for 20 minutes, and then you've kind of had your fill of it.
No, you're talking to the wrong person.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's endlessly replayable, right?
I'm not a little bit of a person.
Yeah, but you can... No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking that you can always play Tetris. You can always play Pac-Man. It doesn't ever feel like a bad idea to pick it up and play it.
True. That part's true, but I couldn't play for just 20 minutes.
Right.
No.
Played Pac-Man so many times in my life. If you put Pac-Man in front of me now, I'll play it again. Right? It's like... Yeah, it doesn't go away. Like this is the same type of concept. It's very simple to play. Anybody can understand. You just move the guy around and things start dying and then you level up. But the hard part is managing it all. Like when you actually do level up at each level, it gives you 4 cards to choose from. So it'll say, it's time to level up. Here are 4 things that make you better. What do you want? Do you want to have extra health? Do you want to have a bigger sword? Do you want to have... And your choices make the difference along the way, So you either go for like a really powerful guy, or you can go for a guy who runs faster, so you can run away from stuff instead of shooting. It's just really fun. Achilles Survivor, the best part of it, it's on Steam. It only costs $4.49.
Right.
Which I think is a bargain, because I've played 15 hours of it over the time I've had it, and I've got my money's worth already. It's just really fun. Achilles Survivor, it's on Steam. You can buy it now. Sid Talk, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner is going to be what we're going to call from now on Hottie Dogs, because we're vegetarian.
Hockey dogs.
Hottie, Hottie.
Oh, okay.
Instead of hot dogs, because always saying plant-based hot dogs seems really boring at this point. So we're calling them Hottie Dogs. We're having Hottie Dogs and roast potatoes, and I forget what else you suggested.
I suggested hot dogs.
We also have beans. We have
and
beans.
roast potatoes.
Yeah, that's what we're having.
Yeah.
So that's it. And then my advice, I started out by saying I can't even think of any advice today, except I'm a hyper-focused type of person. This I know. I've always known it my whole life. Like we were just discussing, if you put Pac-Man in front of me right now, I'm not going to want to play for 20 minutes. I want to play for 24 hours. It's just the way I am. And so lately I've been working on entering recipes in a little cookbook we're doing for a fundraiser. And how much have I been doing recipes?
Pretty much all of your waking life.
Yes, like 16 hours a day. As soon as I get up, I'm right on it. I'll stay up to 4 a.m. doing it. And it is satisfying and gratifying and exciting. And then it becomes like, oh, I'm waking up, because if I wake up at 8, but I'm really tired, I'm like, I just want to go do the recipes. I just want to do it. And I think if you're that person and people try to squash that in you, like, you need to get away from that computer and do something different, like that kind of shit, no, you don't, or whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying let your life suffer because of it. Like, I'm still functioning as a human being. I went and played bingo with my sister. I communicate with all the people I need to communicate with. I'm still pretty wifey, so we're good there. I still hang with you and watch our shows. We've done our movie. I'm not saying to you, leave me alone while I crawl into the computer and just do this with nothing else. Like, I haven't stop paying my bills or anything like that. So you see what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Balance it out, but don't let people make you think that because your actual gut tells you to really dig deep into a thing and do it really well. Like, don't let people distract you from that just because they're not that personality type. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Before we go, I have got a special announcement to make. TikTok. So we just reviewed the movie Wolfman, and I have got 2 digital codes for the Premium Video on Demand,
Right on.
PVOD, version of this movie. So you can claim this on the website moviesanywhere.com, which if you're a movie collector, you know all about. You get those digital codes and you claim them. So I have 2 of these to give away, US only, unfortunately, because they only work in the US. So what you have to do is the first 2 people who email me, and you have to put in the subject line, I want to win the Wolfman. And just put, just email me with that in the subject line. The first 2 emails I get, I will send you a digital code, but you must be US based. I don't want anybody from anywhere else. I have to be biased in that way.
I got you.
Just because the codes don't work if I give it to somebody else. So
Oh, yeah.
email me, ascully@ascully.com, and say, I want to win the Wolfman in the subject line. And the first 2 people on, this podcast will come out on Monday. When will it come out, Sid Talk? Monday the 10th. I will give you the codes on Monday the 10th. If you email me.
And we'll announce next week that there have been winners or not.
Yes. There will definitely be winners, hopefully, if people listen all the way.
Do you think of all the people?
I feel like
you won't get like
winners.
2 people sending you an email.
I feel like there'll definitely be winners here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And am I excluded from this
Because we do
competition?
have more than 2 people listening to the podcast.
Am I not allowed to win?
You can't win, no. We've already got a copy.
True that.
Yeah, so we're good. All right. So, yeah, win. Let me explain it again. ascully@ascully.com. That's the email address. Subject line, I want to win the Wolfman, or I want to win Wolfman. And I will reply to the first 2 people, and you will get a digital code that you can use on moviesanywhere.com. Sid Talk, let's play the music. So you can get this podcast on ascully.com, or you can go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or YouTube. You can also go to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those are our social network handles. I'm A Scully, she Sid Talk. You can also email feedback to me at ascully@ascully.com. Do not email Sid Talk, she doesn't want your email. And stay classy, the Wolfman.
And I'm going to say, think for yourself, or someone's doing it for you.